So Spencer, man, Amari, he was very candid in his press conference. Man, he spoke from the heart. He spoke some truth. He said he thought that he would get more money and guarantees, and he said he was kind of led to believe that he would be getting a contract extension. He also said that he didn't have an issue with going out there and earning a new deal this year. So, based on what you heard from Amari, what's your thoughts about on some of the things that he had to say today?
His press conference was a roller coaster ride, man. Like first couple comments were about just the contract, and he mentioned, somebody asked him straight up, like, "Do you think this is your last year with the Browns?" And he, at first it kind of sounded like he was given like a very, I don't know, like almost like a yeah it is type answer, and then he sort of explained himself, like, "Hey, I don't have a crystal ball in front of me." But then later on in the press conference, he mentioned that he hopes he gets to finish his career here. He likes it here. He likes the stability of it, and he doesn't like change. So. Yeah, like listen, I also do think though, and one of my big takeaways from his comments was just the fact that he kept alluding to the fact that there's a misconception about what he wanted. People thought, oh, and he did make it clear, like he thought he was going to get some extra years, or he wanted some extra years on his deal, and that's understandable. But he also said, like, the biggest thing I wanted was just the guaranteed money. Like, I signed that deal with the Cowboys 5 years ago, and the first 2 years are the only thing guaranteed. When I first came to Cleveland, they guaranteed a little bit more. And then this year, like, if they wanted to, they could have cut me for nothing. Like, I didn't want that in my contract. I wanted to be able to know that I was going to get my money this year. And it sounds like the $5 million increase in incentives he has no problem with. So he got a little bit more than what he initially was supposed to have. He gets some of it up front with the signing bonus. And I do believe him when he says, like, for me, that's what it was mostly about. I also thought it was funny because, we like to read into these situations and wonder, like, oh, he feels disrespected, all this different stuff. And he made it clear, like, hey, Andrew Berry kept saying on the phone to my agent, like, it's nothing personal. Don't take it personal. And he's like, and I don't take it personal because it's a business at the end of the day, and I get that's right. How it goes. And he also kind of mentioned, I'm not on the phone with my agent every day, like, hey, did they call you today? What's going on? Like, I just kind of let him handle it. And then we knew kind of some different ideas of what we wanted, and we rolled with this. So the biggest thing, obviously, is that he's out here. He seems happy to be out here and have the contract thing behind him. He said it's not something that he's even thinking about at this point, and he hopes he can go out and hopefully earn an extension from the Browns. But if not, he knows he's going to earn an extension from somebody, obviously, else in the NFL.
So how likely do you think it is he earns that extension from the Cleveland Browns? Because Spencer, let's just keep it real, like with the people that's watching here. You and I have covered this team pretty closely for the last couple of years. And we have gotten to know Andrew Berry and how he goes about business. And, re-signing a 30-year-old wide receiver who will be 31 next year if he gets a new deal, to a new deal, it just doesn't add up or align with how Andrew Berry tends to do business. And we know Amari has been like highly productive since he's been a member of the Cleveland Browns, but at the same time, this is a business. And I know personally, I would rather be, a year too early on a receiver versus a year too late as far as, when it's time to move on. But what's your gut tell you? Like, do you believe that he still has a future beyond this year with this team?
I think, Earl, if there was if they were going to get an extension done and the Browns wanted to give him extra years tacked onto his deal, I think he would have been here at camp today with extra years tacked onto his deal. That's just what I believe, because to your point, like, Andrew Berry has been able to operate more in recent years by paying guys that are part of like the culture and that are fits in Cleveland, and Amari Cooper is definitely that. And they've been willing to give extensions and even kick the can down the road and, pay guys once their contracts are up, all these different things, all these different levers you can kind of pull to finagle a contract around. I think there was an opportunity to do that here with Amari Cooper. If they really wanted to, they could have restructured Deshaun's deal and made some of that like a signing bonus and spread it out and opened up more cap space to add on some years to Amari Cooper. So they had some options at their disposal. I think that obviously says a lot about what they're trying to do with Deshaun this year, is try to eat a lot of that money. But regardless, like, they had some options here. They didn't get it done. So to me, you're asking my gut feeling, I think this is probably his last year with the Browns. And I do think, like, as they're looking at the landscape of where they stand in the draft next year, they're finally going to have a first-round pick again. I think that they're kind of looking at that pick saying, listen, we could either, I think it kind of comes down to like, we can maybe use it on a receiver, depending on what happens with Amari, or we're going to keep an eye on Jed Wills, and if we don't extend him, maybe we use it on a tackle, and maybe we do extend Amari Cooper. So I think that's kind of the place I'm watching this season. That, that's down the road. We don't have to worry about that right now. But those are two areas where I'm watching the season to kind of get a feel of, are they eyeing those two positions most notably with that first-round pick that they finally get back next year? Because those are both things that are both areas that are kind of up in the air at the moment as we start camp and get ready for the 2024 season.
Yeah, when I look at it like that, I think you're 100% right. I think that tackle and wide receiver, no matter if it's via free agency or via the draft or trade, knowing Andrew Berry, will be top priority next year. I tend to think that he is already preparing to see what possible free agents is out there.
Yeah.
I believe that the Cleveland Browns want to get younger at wide receiver if he can add more speed or whatever the case may be. But you're already hearing the rumblings of the Browns are trying to put themselves in position to go after T. Higgins. We don't know how much of that is true, or if it will ever come to things like that. But the Browns are, I think, winners in this whole situation. We've seen the general manager not really budge much, right? We've seen him really stick to his guns and keep the future of the Cleveland Browns at the forefront over making sure he satisfies Amari Cooper. He didn't disrespect Amari, but Amari clearly, from his own words, didn't walk away with everything that he thought he would walk away from. And so when I look at how Andrew Berry has assessed this entire situation, having our first round pick back next year, understanding what the market is going forward with free agency and possible and this upcoming draft class with wide receivers, I think the Browns will be all right. But we do know that Amari Cooper is a constant pro. He's going to show up. He's going to do everything he can to stay healthy, be involved in a new offense that he's never really played in before, and try to earn himself a new deal, whether that be with the Browns or somewhere else.
It is amazing, man. Like, listen, I understand people can criticize Andrew Berry's drafts and some of the picks that he's made. We just mentioned Jay Will's name. That was his first round pick, right? Like, still kind of jury's still out on him if he's going to be a great player, just a good player. Greg Newsome is his other first round pick, and there's talk about maybe him getting traded in the next year or so. So who knows if he's going to be here? But like, and then down the depth chart, like, he's hit on some linemen here or there, some depth guys. He's hit on some other positions. He's hit on some corners, and that seems to be an area of strength for him. But yeah, like, receivers, an area that's always been sort of a bugaboo for him as well in terms of developing those guys. But the one thing that he is a wizard at, and he continues to be a wizard at, is getting these deals done with players who both were already here before he got here, key players that they're trying to build around, and guys that he's going out and acquiring. Like, I mean, the trade from Amari Cooper from the beginning felt like a steal. And now you get him back in the building without adding any extra years on, and that seems like what they wanted to do. They didn't want to add any extra years. They just wanted to get him in the building for this year and kind of see how it plays out. Like, he stays winning at the negotiating table, Earl. It's pretty crazy. Like, he's a mastermind at his job in that way, and he does it in a way that seems like he doesn't lose the respect from the players. And again, because Amari kept saying he understands it's the business of football, and that's all you can ask for from a GM, is that they're doing things the right way. And like, these conversations and negotiations that can get very tenuous, that he's not just like kicking guys to the curb, and he's making them feel like they're still appreciated, even though he has to have a tough conversation about their contract. So I don't know how he does it. I don't think I could be a GM in a professional sport, but he certainly is very good at that, and he's proved that over these first 4 years.